Family and friends, good morning. I'm Rabbi Eddie Sukal from the Shul. We gather this morning to honor Phyllis, to remember her, and to pay tribute to her life. When we grieve and confront death, it is natural for our minds to drift to the eternal questions that we ask about life and the meaning of our lives and the purpose of our lives. The author of the book of Psalms asked those questions this way: "O God, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? It seems that we are little more than a breath, our days like a passing shadow. You say to us, 'Return, O mortal creatures.' If only we were wise and understood where we are going. But this we do know. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright, for they shall know true peace." And elsewhere in Psalm 90, "Teach us to number our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom. And may your favor, O God, be upon us. Establish the work of our hands, that it may long endure." For me, that's one of the most beautiful verses in all of the book of Psalms. And it so aptly reflects Phyllis's life. It speaks about attaining a heart of wisdom. And she had that. She had that in her personal relationships, and she had it also in the years and years of teaching in public school and in Sunday schools. She had a heart of wisdom, and she tried to share her wisdom with her students. And even in these past few months, former students came up to her, or up to you, and children of former students came to you and said, "Your mom was my son's teacher. Your mom was my teacher. Your wife was my teacher." That's what it means to establish the work of our hands, and it may long endure. Generational influence. In Phyllis just being who she was and doing what she did. Jerry, to you and to your sons, Jeffrey and Joshua and Jamie, to Paul and Vanessa, to Susan and to Joyce, and to beloved nephews, to all of you in the family, including Willie and Susan's Jerry. We know that you grieve in a darkened world this morning. And those of us who have mourned understand that in your silence there is sadness. In your tears there is loneliness. We gather with you that the presence of loving friends might comfort you, and that we might console you. And we gather with you not only to comfort you, but to call upon God on your behalf, and to ask that you feel God's presence at this sad time, and that this too will be a source of comfort. Phyllis's love united all of you in life. It made your lives richer, and that love is not severed with her death. That love remains in each of you, and you carry it with you. And what we're asked to do in these days of grief and sadness and tears is something so difficult, which is both to grieve and also to find the strength to be grateful for the gift of her life, for all those things that she did and said that brought joy into your lives, that brought love and laughter into your hearts. And so we grieve today, and we grieve fully and deeply. And yet somehow we are also grateful for the gifts of her heart and her mind. I'd like to ask her sisters, Susan and Joyce, to come forward to share some memories.
Phyllis, you are the best older sister anyone could have asked for. We are a very diverse family, and she was the glue that held us all together. She was the matriarch of the family and loved every minute of it. She was an amazing person, never judging out loud, very, very compassionate, and always a shoulder to cry on. I will miss our sister outings and vacations, remembering how Joyce and I made her walk after she fell on the boat because we didn't believe her, and she really was hurt. Whenever I was recouping from all of my surgeries, Phyllis made me my comfort food. It was always a tuna noodle casserole, and it was waiting for me. Just remember always that no matter where you are, whether miles apart, sisters will always be connected by the heart. Phyllis, I will miss you greatly. I love you.
Phyllis was my big sister, my best friend, and my confidant. She was the glue that held us together. I will miss the daily phone calls. I will miss comparing our Pandora bracelets, our miniature tea sets, and all of our recipes. You were always one of my heroes, and you continue to be one during your last several months. You were so brave. I lived every day for your smile. Your love of life, family, friends, and teaching children were what defined you. You will always be my Sarah. Rest in peace. We love you.
I'd like to ask Jerry and Jeffrey to come forward.
Thank you, Reverend. Which way? Okay. Good morning to you all from Phyllis and I. I'm going to tell you a love story. It begins November 12th, 1940, when I was born to my parents, June and Herb Lox. We're going to leap forward to June 6th, 1944, when my child bride was born to her parents, Helen and David Abramowitz. Moving ahead to December of 1962 is when Phyllis and I first met. I asked Phyllis out on a blind date for New Year's, since we had never met each other, and in her mind I was a much older man, and I am. We went to Corky and Lenny's, but since she had never met me, she made sure that her friends, the Gars, Jerry and Peggy, went with her for the coffee. They're still our friends. After that New Year's, Phyllis went back to Miami of Ohio to finish her teaching degree, which she loved all her life. I went to our basic training for the U.S. Army Reserves. We wrote each other. When I would come in town on leave, we would go out and date. But probably the real reason Phyllis and I are together is their grandpa, Jake. He would ask her every time he saw her, "Did Jerry give you the ring? Did Jerry give you the ring?" And finally I became smart enough that I did give her the ring. Okay, we were married May 29th, 1966, and then she really became my child bride. The song that we had picked was "We Could Have Danced All Night," and we did do that for many, many years. Phyllis started teaching in East Cleveland, as well as Sunday school at Silver's and then Emmanuel. She loved her students. They were all her children. Our family expanded with Jeff, then Josh, and then Jamie. Then further on, Paul and Jeff, Vanessa and Josh, her sisters, Susie with Jerry, Joyce with Willie. She had many friends. She loved mahjong. She loved swimming. She loved to be in the sun. She enjoyed our days at Wiley Pool and with her many friends. I'm just going to mention Rita and Sandy, but she was in a book club. They all loved her. She loved mahjong. She loved to throw parties and holiday dinners. She would make the brisket and her famous apple cake. The brisket was so good that when we had it sliced at Miles, they wanted her recipe. I'm going to do one thing, because this is the crooked smile that she always would say when we take pictures, and if you see some of those pictures, Phyllis has a beautiful smile, and then there's me. I'm going to say shalom and peace to you all from Phyllis and I. We want you to have health and happiness all your lives, and enjoy your lives together. Thank you for coming.
Many of us ask the eternal existential question, why am I here? For my mom, Phyllis, it's as if she always knew the answer. Mom was on earth for 3 important roles: to teach children, for her friends and family, and to be a mother. Mom was a teacher all of her life, whether she was playing Glinda the Good Witch, pretending the front porch on Belmar was her floating pink bubble, and she would preside over the other children playing. Or her years as a camp counselor. She tended to children. Using her degree from her beloved Miami University, she became a professional teacher, and by all accounts, one of the best. While at Prospect Elementary, she went to a workshop on something called math manipulatives. These are little tools to help kids count. And she created the Lox box, full of tools. Her tools were used system-wide, and it brings to mind the many tools she gave all of us. Chief among those tools, Mom valued and cherished friends and family. She loved being a daughter, a wife, a sister, an aunt, a niece, a cousin, and a friend. Mom's girlfriends throughout her life made it rich and full. She co-chaired every PTA. She ran parents' organizations. She loved Maj and her book clubs. She and Dad cultivated amazing friendships, so many that were lifelong. Dinners out and travel and adventures with her friends were sources of joy. Above all else to Mom was family. After my grandmother's passing, she became the family matriarch. She kept us all connected, a role she would tell you was the most important in the world. My dad, the love of her life, Josh, Jamie, Paul, Vanessa, my Aunt Sue and Uncle Jerry, my Aunt Joyce and Uncle Willie, and the rest of our family are all so much better for the way she loved family. Finally, and selfishly, I want to tell you about my mom's real role here on earth. Phyllis was a woman born to be a mother. When we were little, she poured all of herself into us. She told us we could be and do anything, and nobody believed that more than her. Mom had lots of opinions about how life was to be lived. No toys that shot anything, ever. Learn to iron and put down the seat so your wives don't hate me. Shut up was the absolute worst thing you could say to your brother. Absolutely everything gives you impetigo. Mom was fond of endless phone calls. Did you hear about Josh's new bonus? Have you seen Jamie's garden yet? And always, Jeffrey, I hate the beard. As an adult, I am certain of one truth, as are all who counted Phyllis as family or friend. She loved me and all of us fully. Mom's love was big and dramatic and beautiful. My mother made me the man I was supposed to be. With Mom, that wasn't accidental. She gave me and my brothers the most incredible gift of loving exactly who we were. I will live the rest of my life grateful for my mom's closeness with me and her love. Thanks, Mom. I love you and miss you terribly. All of us will keep you with us whenever we use the tools that you beautifully gave us. I love you, Mom.
Jerry, when we had our family Zoom meeting the other day, you said something so beautiful. You said many things, but one that stuck with me. You said, we went through life laughing. What a wonderful way to reflect on your years together. And you spoke about the love affair the two of you had for all your years together, starting with that blind date. That was a good blind date. Turned out just the way it's supposed to. You went through life laughing. I knew Phyllis from her attendance at our high holiday services. I can picture right where she and Jerry sat. She was one of those people in the congregation that I could look to while I was giving my sermon or leading a prayer, and I would get nonverbal feedback about how things were going. And I had a habit. We meet in the auditorium at the Mandel School, formerly known as Agnon, and we meet in their large auditorium. And before services would begin, and this is why we always started late, we're notorious for starting late, I would walk through the congregation greeting everyone, wishing them a Shana Tova, a healthy, happy New Year. And Phyllis would always greet me with a big smile and laughter. And I could see she was enjoying herself. And she gave me that energy. And I got to experience, in a small way, what Jeffrey said about her. When you were hers, you were hers. If she took you into her heart, and she took many into her heart, you all know that. When she took you into her heart, there you stayed. There was an unconditional love and caring that she shared, along with her opinions, as it's been mentioned. One of you said she didn't suffer fools silently, and somebody else chimed in, she didn't suffer silently. And as a teacher, in every sense of the word, it was in her being. Ever the teacher. She became everybody's mom to her boys' friends. She took years off from teaching to raise the three of you, going back when the youngest of you started, when Jamie started kindergarten. But she had several years where she was a full-time mom at home. She was always a full-time mom once she had you, but she stayed home for those years, and she made her own Play-Doh. She had sandwich parties for you. You didn't know it at the time, but some of those sandwich parties were because things were a little rough fiscally, but you never knew it. Phyllis and Jerry made sure you never felt like you were wanting anything. And so she'd make sandwiches and cut them up so that you felt like there was plenty. She had an approach to the world of abundance rather than scarcity. And among the very special things that she made for you as children was pink macaroni and cheese. Didn't start out that way. She just mixed it in a bowl that had red vinegar in it. She told you it tasted the same. It was normal. And Jerry, you mentioned her brisket. That was extraordinary, and she made an apple cake. And beyond that, I think it was Jeffrey said that she was no cook. Susan and Joyce, as you said, she organized the family celebrations, the simchas, the holiday meals. She organized it all. She was very proud of her table settings. For Pesach, though it already has its own theme, it hardly needs more theme, but she themed it by making you wear plague masks. Joyce and Susan, I don't remember which one of you said it, but she said she was the queen, she was the boss. She was very much the eldest daughter in your family, and she was the eldest of 8 cousins. And she carried that regally. Along with her women's book club, some of you no doubt were in it, she was also part of a group. I don't know if all of the women lived in Beechwood, but many of you did. You were known as the Happy Hookers because you, using needle crafts, made hats and scarves and blankets, and lots of these went to her students in East Cleveland, along with Thanksgiving meals that she would cook for them, because she knew some of her students might not have a Thanksgiving meal with their families, and so she cooked Thanksgiving dinner and would take it down and have it with the students the day before. As her sons brought spouses into the family, Phyllis and Jerry made sure that everybody became one family. That's a beautiful thing to do, and it's not so simple. It's not always easy. I didn't understand that until I had married children. But you opened up your family, and you included Paul's family, particularly her sister and brother-in-law. And she did that out of an ethic that she lived by, that you've all spoken about, which was family first. We don't determine the moment of our birth, and we don't determine the moment of our death. And when we do die, our tradition teaches that everything material that we have, we leave behind. It's insignificant. It means absolutely nothing. In death, we are all equal. The richest person in the world and a pauper, their material goods are of no significance because we take nothing with us. The rabbis asked, what is it then that lives on, that survives us, that is of meaning and significance? And they answered it this way, that in the way some people live, in the way they give of themselves, in the way they love others, they earned for themselves the Keter Shem Tov, the crown of a good name. Phyllis earned her crown many, many, many times over. And the crown of her good name, that lives on. It's with all of you, her family and her friends. And every time you do something with compassion to help another person, you carry her crown of a good name into the future, and you honor her life. when you share your love with someone and your care and concern, you carry her crown. You pay tribute to her memory. Zecher tzadeket livracha. The memory of a good and a righteous woman is forever a blessing to all who knew her and to all who loved her. Amen. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binoteh sheyabritzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleni, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'magalei tzedek leman shemo, gam ki elech begeitz al mavet lo irara, ki ata imadi shiftecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni, ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged zogerai, dishan tav Hashem en roshi, kosi revaya achtov v'chesed yerdufuni, kol yemei chayai v'shavti, beveit Adonai, le'orech yamim. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. Please rise. O God of life, amid the ceaseless tides of change, your love remains to comfort us and to give us hope. Around us we see life and death, decay and renewal, a flowing rhythm that all things obey. Our life is a dance to a song we cannot hear. Its melody courses through us for a little while and then seems to cease. Whence the melody? Whither does it go? In darkness as in light, we turn to you, O God, the source of life and the answer to all its mysteries. Il malei rachamim, shochein bamromim, hamsei menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashchina, im kedoshim utehorim, kizohar harakia mazhirim, et nishmata penina, shehalcha le'olama, began eden tehei menuchata, Ana bal harachamim, hastireha beseter kenafecha leolamim, vayitzror vitzra hachayim et nishmata, Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava, v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Penina, to Phyllis Lox, for she has now entered eternity. O God of mercy, may Phyllis find refuge in your eternal presence, and may her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance, and we say, Amen. Please be seated. We will continue at Hillcrest Cemetery. Following the burial service, the family will return to the Lox residence, 2021 Eden Hall in Lyndhurst. They will be there after the cemetery from 3 to 6 p.m. today. For those who may wish to honor Phyllis's memory with a charitable contribution, the family suggests that you direct your generosity to the Jewish Day Nursery at Belfair.
Friends, I'm going to ask you to step directly to your cars, please. Those of you driving with us to the cemetery, I remind you, you must manually turn on your headlights. You may exit to the front or rear of the chapel if you need.